Greetings, everybody. Mrs. Wadomski here. I'm going to go over the Job Interview Rubric and how they're going to grade you for your job interview. We typically would be meeting in person with that interviewer, and then there are certain things that you would need to do, and then they score you according to this rubric, and then you get to see this rubric after the interview is done. So I'm just going to go through what I'm expecting of you and what it is that you should do procedural wise for your interview, and that I'm going to go over specifically this column here with the column 4. Okay, you want to go and look at column 4 because that's the best score that you can get. So you want 4s all the way across the entire thing. That's really what you want to do. Okay, so you're going to go through and use that as a guide. We've got the first part, and the first thing that you have to do is your greeting. Your greeting is going to impact the way that the entire interview goes. It kind of sets the entire tone of the interview, and it's your first impression. So you want to make a really good first impression. So you should initiate your handshake. That's 1. You should produce a resume. That's 2. You should clearly define the job that you're applying for. 3. And then the 4th thing would be your handshake in your greeting, and you would normally shake their hand at the beginning and the end. Unfortunately, though, because we're doing remote, really they're going to be looking for you to show up on time to your Google Meet interview. So you're going to arrive to your Google Meet, and you're going to kind of start the interview from there, and that you're going to want to make sure you do all of those things. So you want to do the initiating the introduction. That means you say your name first before they ask you for your name. Same thing as giving them the resume. You give them the resume before they ask for it. That's really important, okay? Talking about your handshake, though, we will still discuss handshakes because you're going to have to do them in the future anyway. So when you are shaking someone's hand, you should initiate the handshake. That means you should put your hand out first. You should have a strong and firm handshake. The webbing in between your thumb and forefinger should meet the other person's. Your fingers can curl underneath their hand. Your thumb can rest very nicely on top of theirs, and that you want to not be super aggressive with the handshake and not be too passive or have a limp handshake. You want to make sure that it's kind of in the middle and that you are just as much a part of that handshake as the other person is. So make sure that you are using all of those things when you're doing a handshake in the future. Okay. Then we've got our questions. So for this interview, you do not have to have the questions memorized. However, the more prepared you are, the better you're going to do in this interview. Normally, you would have the option of using talking points on an index card in the interview if you didn't feel comfortable, because you're not supposed to take those interview questions with you. You're not supposed to read directly from them. I will tell you that I'm going to advise my interviewers that if you're reading directly from the sheet in front of you in your Google Meet, for them to score you lower, because that's not going to look or be good when you're giving your interview. Okay, so make sure that you practice ahead of time. You should know your answers. It's not necessarily that you have to have them memorized, but you should be very comfortable with that information. It shouldn't be, like you blank out at an answer because you don't remember what it is that you're supposed to do. Okay, then we've got to speak very accurately about the answers and give thought to your answers. It should be like a complete answer. We went over handshake already, so let's talk about speaking. So for speaking, you want to aim like you're talking to an important person, but you can't be so intimidated by this conversation that you can't speak to them. So you want to have good, clear speed. You want to have a conversation that has good flow. You should be able to have a conversation with this person. It shouldn't be short answers. It shouldn't be one-word answers. It shouldn't be anything that is going to be perceived as you don't care. Okay, so just be mindful of how you're answering the questions. Now we've got body language. Body language is really important in an interview. You want to think about how your body is projecting itself, what your facial expressions are saying, how you're gesturing with your hands. And then you have to be really mindful of the fact that you're in a video for this particular one as opposed to face-to-face in person. So when you are doing this interview, please make sure you maintain good eye contact. You want to have good posture. You want to smile. You should be sitting up straight or standing. One of our human resource people on Monday's Meet said that we should stand during the interview for this particular one. And you should. This is going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and you could stand for that whole time without a problem. And that it would make your body language that much better, and it would make it so that you seem more appropriate or accurate when you're giving this speech or talking about yourself. Okay, so definitely use the correct body language when you're in your interview. Appearance. For this interview, I'm looking for you to wear professional clothing. Okay, so we want to wear professional dress. It should be something that makes you look really good, and you should feel very comfortable and confident in it. It should be something that you would be proud to be seen in, or like your grandparents would see you in it. It would be okay. All right. We are in a unique circumstance where if you are on the video, they're not necessarily going to see from like your stomach down. So you don't have to necessarily wear clothes that are appropriate on your legs, but you should dress professionally all the way across. That way you are really good for this interview. Okay. Your hair should look neat. Your face should be clean. I would use minimal makeup, if any at all. Use the resources that I gave you in order to know what to wear for the interview. But really just be mindful of the clothes that you could potentially wear for this interview. Okay. If you have questions, you can send me an email, you can call me or ask questions about what it is that would be appropriate to wear for an interview. All right. We've got the interview end. So the end of the interview, you want to say thank you. You want to give a professional goodbye. That could include several different things. It could be something like a little tagline like look forward to working with you, or look forward to hearing from you. Or a great way is to ask a question. So you could ask a question at this point. You could say something like, what's the timeline of this job being hired? Or what is the chances of this being answered within a week? Like, you want to pick something that is about the company, or you could ask a question just in general about the job, and that you want to end with that kind of professional good thing at the end. One of the last things that they're going to be assessing you on is an overall impression. You want to be mindful of all that you do from the beginning to the end. So from the moment you sign on to that interview to the moment that you end that interview, you want to really think about what you're doing and the things that you're saying. Okay. That's really going to be helpful in the future when you are using these skills again. The last piece is your thank you note /email. You are expected to do a follow-up after the interview, writing a thank you note and either mailing it or delivering it to the person, or sending them an email, which that would be a great question to ask here at the end. What's your email? And write it down so you have it to send them that follow-up email. That would be a fantastic question to ask to end. If you don't turn any in, you get 0 points for that section, or you get 1 point for that section, but really it doesn't help you in your grade. So it's a 1 or 4 for that particular category. All right. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. If you have any other questions or you need help with anything, just let me know. Otherwise, good luck in your interview.